So, the finale of Attack on Titan is here at last. And Isiyama announces new script for Attack on Titan's final episode. And I'm very curious as to what this video is. So I'm gonna check it out.
Isiyama just did the unthinkable, as this morning he and episode director Yuichiro Hayashi both made a very passionate statement about the
anime Attack on Titan is finally heading toward its finale. These last 4 years, I faced this project every single day going fight, fight. We put everything I could possibly think of into this, and I believe the final footage is just a compilation of all our passion. A new script from Isiyama Sensei, the actors' soul-filled performances, the absolute perfect pieces of music. Please experience all of this. It's been 10 years since the TV anime started. Thank you very much for sticking with us through all that time. The climax scene that happens in the last half of the final season was very hard to draw in the original manga as well, so I couldn't help but think this is going to be rough for Mappa. Mappa is probably thinking, please stop. I'm sorry, Mappa. I'm really sorry. Even then, I'm very excited to see how it'll turn out in the anime. Also, this time, by my request, I got to draw a little bit of the rough draft toward the end. Please watch until the end. Oh, man. I can't wait.
final episode of Attack on Titan, which gives us some very, very interesting insight into the final episode, including a new script by Isayama himself. But what does it all mean? Well, let's dive into those statements. If you love Attack on Titan, One Piece, Invincible, or Jujutsu Kaisen, then this is the channel for you. Get subscribed and drop a like to help support what I do here. So, our first statement is from the series director Yuichiro Hayashi. You may know this as the man who was working himself to death in the behind-the-scenes footage for the production of Final Chapters Part 1, so here we go. The anime Attack on Titan is finally headed toward its finale. The last 4 years, I faced this project every single day going, fight, fight. We put everything I could possibly think of into this, and I believe the final footage is just a compilation of all of our passion. A new script from Isiyama Sensei, the actors' soul-filled performances, the absolute perfect pieces of music. Please experience all of this. So what I got from this statement is one that's just filled with a lot of love for Attack on Titan. I mean, he's been working on these episodes for 4 years now, and just like Eren in the series, which he echoes here, he fought for it every day since taking it on. And you can really tell from that behind-the-scenes footage, which blew up, probably for the reasons they didn't want it to blow up for, and rightfully so, but you cannot take away from him or his staff that everyone involved gave it everything they got to make this finale worth every single second. Cool. Then he goes on to state that they put everything they could think of into this final film-like presentation, and for that reason, it's more of a compilation of all of their collective passion. And this fills me with a lot of promise because, as we could tell with the final trailer for the series, pretty much everything shown in it was insanely detailed and to the highest quality I've ever seen Attack on Titan presented at. That to me reeks of confidence for what they're about to drop on us, and I couldn't be happier for that. This also is a lesson on why we shouldn't listen to all of those doomers on the internet saying some really dumb stuff like they're...
This is absolutely gonna break me tomorrow, because as of recording this, it will be tomorrow, the next day, that the finale of Attack on Titan comes out. And holy shit, it's been so long. It's up there with Dragon Ball Z for the most influential in my life. I was 16, 17, something like that, when Attack on Titan came out. And I've been watching it every episode as they come out ever since. And it's finally ending. And it's not every day that you see a great show end like this. Usually they fizzle out and burn, and they hurt to go back to. This one's gonna hurt in a different way.
Or taking too long or milking this series. Those statements have always been false, as there has been quite no other anime treated with the same care this series has, the care that it was deserved to have. What some, I think, don't understand or won't understand is that it takes time to make truly great stuff like this. So this part of
People that have never seen Attack on Titan and are about to see all of it for the first time, I envy them. I wish I would have just waited 10 years. I wish I wouldn't have known about it, and then somebody been like, hey, have you heard of Attack on Titan? Be like, no. Be like, and they'd just be like, hey, it's just ended, you should check it out. No, I had to wait 10 years for this.
the statement reads as them saying this is finished, it's perfected, and there is literally nothing they could think of to add more to it. And that's a good thing. And without the current release schedule, this would not be achieved. After all, nobody will remember the gaps in time between seasons and episodes, they'll remember the content. Just like how nobody remembers or talks about the 4-year gap between Season 1 and Season 2. The next part of the statement confirms something that I think could lead to something I was actually hoping for from the beginning, which is that the director confirmed there is a brand new script for the final episode. While I'm sure I'll get the I told you so's from a certain group of people, however, I don't think this is what some people are saying or thinking. Instead, I think this confirms that without a shadow of a doubt, we're getting a more fleshed out script that isn't somewhat rushed like what we got in the original manga's ending. So basically, longer scenes, more detail, better writing that Isiyama wanted to probably more convey in the original all those years ago, but didn't get to. And the reason why I say this is because it was even leaked by some of the staff at MAPPA that it's basically the same thing as what we got in the manga. Then as well, to see what we saw in the final trailer, which is the exact same shots as, you know, in the manga, yeah, I think it's time to get some hype going. I can't say much more than that, of course, but this pretty much confirms that the final episode is going to be spectacular in every way. At least that's how I read it. As for Hajime Isayama's statement, this gives a lot of insight on his involvement on production beyond the new script. It's been 10 years since the TV anime started. Thank you very much for sticking with us through all that time. The climax scene that happens in the last half of the final season was very hard to draw in the original manga as well, so I couldn't help but think, this is going to be rough for MAPPA. MAPPA is probably thinking, please stop, I'm sorry MAPPA, I'm really sorry.
Well, it's almost over.
Then, I'm very excited to see how it'll turn out in the anime. Also, this time, by
They'll
my
probably
request, I got to
continue
draw
it in
a
some
little
way.
bit of the
Just
rough
keep
draft
adding
towards
to
the
it.
end. Please watch until the end. So what I find interesting is that he talks about how the last half of the climax scene that happens in its final episode was very hard to draw in the manga, and that he's sorry to have MAPPA staff draw this. Which, yeah, Isayama did sort of create one of the hardest series to animate in the modern era. What would the series detail with so much scale and action that even Win wanted nothing to do with AOT after Season 1? That's how hard this series was to produce. Even for MAPPA, it's taken a huge strain on them ever since they took it on, even with the already piss-poor management from the CEO. However, what is most interesting is his final statements, which is that Isayama actually got to do the rough draft towards the end. That means we'll get to see, I think maybe for the first time in the anime's production, a Isayama-assisted scene with his art style. This is pretty fitting, given that he's poured so much of his life into the series, and it's also something just nice for the fans of the series to know that Isayama's rough drafts will show up in this final episode. And it's those small touches that really makes this episode seem so much more larger than life, and I can't wait for these scenes by Isayama to actually, you know, show up and see what they look like. And of course, he tells us to watch until the end, and I, for one, cannot wait. And I indeed will be watching until the very, very end. What I think these statements confirm above all else is that wherever you stand on the manga's ending, if you're a doomer or a fan, these statements tell us that all of this time spent will be worth the outcome. There is no way that they could just skirt by and release something standard and subpar. They needed all of this time to make the ending that this legendary series needed. This isn't just some fly-by-night piece of content made by YouTube.
I'm trying to keep my expectations low because I don't want it to hurt me, but I don't think that they have to be low because they they gave it their heart.
YouTubers like me. This is an important, generational, once-in-a-lifetime series, and we got to say we experienced it. So I, for one, am very excited for this final episode and all that it will bring. I can't wait to see what differences in the writing there are and what those scenes from Isayama will look like.
That's why I'm watching
So
it.
what do you think about these statements and how do they read to you? Let me know in the comments below, and subscribe and drop a like. Financially support the channel by becoming a patron, where you'll gain access to my
I got tired of waiting for it to come out, and I ended up just reading it all, and now I kind of know what's going to happen, so it's not going to be that big of a surprise. I'm just seeing what kind of changes they make and if they actually change the ending and what these extra chapters that are coming out are going to be. Because I'm definitely going to read those. I just want it to end. I want the suffering to stop.